Well, I think it is. Yo. Yeah, I think it is. I mean, yeah. Yep. Yeah. でしょ？大丈夫でしょ？解雇主義やりたいんだけどね、全然できないんだよ。No, you always そう、英語力高めろよって高めろよっつって言って、ジェムのさ使うやつからはさ、無駄遣いの次はもうないの？その後。Wait, it doesn't matter for the, it's like nothing for the new one from here right now.
Gems are the most valuable currency in Rise of Kingdoms because you can basically turn them into anything that you want. You can spin the Wheel of Fortune for commanders, or you can get your hands on blueprints for your...
Okay. こっちだ。じゃあもう2個目です。一応まあこっちで。12インチ PB ですか。それは人気だね。さあこれね、聞き取れないでしょ普通。
Now that we know all the information about the two new legendary infantry commanders coming to Rise of Kingdoms, we know that smite damage is on not just one commander but on two, and if it's on two it can be on three in the future, and perhaps four, and so on and so forth. And in this video I'm going to make the case that smite damage is probably going to be more powerful than skill damage for a number of different reasons. Okay, now the first thing that we have to talk about is actually a correction to my previous video where I revealed the skills for Gorgo. Her active skill actually deals 2,300 smite damage, which is slightly lower than what I talked about in that video. Now I did pin a comment right away and I posted at the top of the description. I posted on my Discord and I made it very clear that I was wrong in that video. The number was only slightly lower and the video is 95% accurate, so I decided to leave the video up and just make it clear in both the comments and the description, and also in this video letting you know that this number is slightly lower than the one that I showed in that video. The images from that video came actually from a, believe it or not, actually a dream of mine. I just had a dream. I just manifested that information you know, through the universe, and I was slightly wrong. Okay, I was slightly wrong, and the other reason that I didn't take the video down is because if you scroll down here, even on the official page here, it says game content may differ upon release. Okay, so even if I took that video down and recorded a new one, this information could be wrong here as well. Okay, so I decided to just leave it up, and I decided to pin the comment and let you guys know here. But one thing that is clear is that whatever universe that my dreams were accessing when I got that original information, the number is slightly lower than what it was before. And what does that tell us? That tells us that Gorgo was probably really strong in the testing before release. Okay, so they had to lower this number slightly from the number that I pulled out of the universe from my dream to what it is here, and if they had to lower that number before they even came into the game, that means that Gorgo is probably busted. That means that it was probably extremely hard to crack the Gorgo garrison. I think that says a lot about how powerful smite damage is if they had to lower the number before Gorgo even comes into the game. But that's not the only thing that I want to use as evidence in this video to tell you that I think smite damage is going to be broken. So the first thing that we have to talk about is, you know, the initial perception of smite damage when it came into the game. A lot of players were like, oh, that's interesting, it's an interesting mechanic, but we already have so many commanders in the game that give a bonus to skill damage that smite damage commanders are not going to have enough synergy, they're not going to have enough support compared to skill damage. Well, now that we know that there are two commanders, we know that there could be more, and we know that further support for smite damage is likely going to come down the pipeline, unless it's so broken that they can't balance it, and then that's probably it. We will probably only see 2 smite damage commanders. That's my prediction. Okay, I personally think we will see more smite damage in the future, and just because we don't have as much support as skill damage right now doesn't mean that in the future, like, you have to think, guys, you have to think in the future. Like, the game does not exist in a moment in time. It is constantly evolving, and I think right out of the gate smite damage is going to be strong, but I think that down the line it could only get better. That's honestly how I feel about this. And I did a live stream the other day on the 11th, and I did a poll for you guys, and I think about 80% or more of you thought that smite damage was going to be OP, but there were still a lot of people in my comment section saying like, I don't think smite damage is going to be that good. So this video, I'm going to try to make the case that it will. So what do we know about smite damage, and what else do we have to consider when we are talking about smite damage itself? Well, obviously we know that smite damage is essentially damage that is dealt that scales with your normal attack damage bonuses, and it is not influenced by your skill damage bonuses. Okay, so again, the 50% skill damage bonus on YSG is not going to do anything for smite damage commanders. And there's also another mechanic that they introduced with smite damage as well, which is additional normal attacks. Okay, we saw this on Luce, we also see this on Gorgo now as well, and on the expertise here for Luce, it says that there's a 25% chance to launch an extra normal attack, and right here it says extra normal attacks do not trigger counterattacks, can launch up to 1 extra normal attack per second. Okay, so effectively that's per turn. You can only have 1 additional normal attack per turn, and the enemy will not counterattack you for that. So basically you're dealing double the normal attack damage that turn, and you're only taking 1 turn's worth of counter attack damage, which sounds really strong in my opinion. But this also begs the question, what else is influenced by this additional normal attack? A lot of players have speculated that commanders like Alexander the Great, who have instant proc damage on normal attacks, could possibly have an increased probability of dealing this damage, and therefore dealing it more often. Okay, more often dealing a 1700 damage factor sounds really good to me. Now, do I think that this is going to actually happen? I don't know. Okay, I don't know, and I'm hesitant to say that this will trigger, and the reason that I'm hesitant about that is because this says that your normal attacks have a 10% chance of dealing direct damage factor, and if you look at how Luce is worded here, it says extra normal attack. Okay, now I know that that might not mean that much to you, but you have to consider that in Rise of Kingdoms we have multiple types of skill damage. Okay, we have regular skill damage, which you can see on basically any commander in the game here. The active skill deals skill damage. Then you also have what's called additional damage factor. Okay, and this is actually completely different. This is a completely a different type of damage that is dealt, and that is why things like latent power aren't that good. Okay, latent power does not increase the damage that you deal on your active skill. It only increases what's called additional damage factor. Okay, and that there is a distinction there, which is important, and the reason that I'm even bringing this up is because I think there may be a distinction in game between a normal attack and an extra normal attack. I think those might actually be 2 separate things. I could be wrong. I think they're going to be separate, and the reason for that is because I think it would probably break the game if it was actually just a second normal attack in the same turn. I think that would be broken, but we're gonna have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see how this is actually implemented. If it could trigger additional things like the skill damage on Alexander the Great, that would be actually insane. Also, talents like Burning Blood, this is one of the most common and popular talents in the game. Everybody loves this because of how strong it is, and it says that you get 9 extra rage for each normal attack. Well, if you do an extra normal attack, does that mean you're getting 18 rage that turn for that single turn, right? Like, this has crazy implications for things like this. So in my mind, I think it probably won't trigger things like Burning Blood or things like Alexander the Great's his instant proc damage. We'll have to wait and see. but that is actually something that we have to consider. Now the other thing that we have to consider with normal attacks is actually rage regeneration. Okay, and here you can see my El Cid is attacking a barbarian, and you can see the rage increasing for the barbarian, and you're gonna see that my El Cid does his active skill, and for one turn he actually, you see there, it actually stopped gaining rage. Okay, the enemy stopped getting rage for one turn. Now why is that? Well, RIP to the AP I just wasted for this video, but if you take a look at the active skill on El Cid, it says that it disables its active skills and normal attacks for 1 second. What does this mean? Well, what this means is that the enemy gaining rage is contingent on it dealing a normal attack, and by this I mean if you deal 0 normal attacks for 1 turn, you gain 0 rage for that turn. So if we take that logic and we extrapolate it out to its logical conclusion, well, if 1 normal attack equals standard rage regeneration and 0 normal attacks equals 0 rage regeneration, that means that an additional normal attack should be extra rage regeneration, right? That's the only conclusion that you can come to, unless extra normal attack is different from just a regular normal attack. Okay, so all of these reasons and all of these things that we're talking about here are related to the 2 new commanders coming into the game that have smite damage. So first of all, I think the bonus extra normal attacks could be broken. They could be broken. I think the most likely thing is that they will just deal extra damage that turn. I don't know if they're going to proc anything or bonus rage, I'm not sure, but I think that that is something that we have to at least consider the possibility of, and we will have to test that when it comes into the game. But the other thing that we want to talk about, and the main point of this video, is smite damage. Okay, how good is smite damage going to be? Well, we don't know if smite damage is its own type of damage, or if it's just scales differently than skill damage. In other words, is this just skill damage with different modifiers, or is its own thing? We don't know, but the fact that it scales off of normal attack damage is insane. Okay, let's jump over to a spreadsheet so I can show you guys how I think that smite damage will scale way better than skill damage bonus in Rise of Kingdoms, and we're gonna do a very bare bones basic computation just so that way you guys can sort of get the idea of how I think this is going to work in the game. So here we see 10 turns of battle, and again, this is just for an example. This is just with easy numbers so you guys can understand the concept of bonuses, normal attack damage, and smite damage. Okay, here we have a normal skill damage based commander over a 10 turn period. Okay, we see the amount of normal attack damage we deal on a given turn, the amount of skill damage we deal on a given turn, and the bonus multipliers for them. Okay, and in this first turn, obviously you're gaining rage, you're not dealing an active skill, so you're not going to deal any skill damage. And let's just say that you deal your skill damage on turn 10. Again, this is just an example to explain a concept. Just for argument's sake, let's say you're dealing 200 normal attack damage every single turn, okay, and nothing changes there, and then finally once your rage is at maximum, at 1,000 whatever, you deal 1,000 damage factor, and let's say you have a 20% skill damage modifier on that army. Okay, whether it's because you have Twilight Falls and some other bonuses or whatever, or let's say you have Mehmed in your army and Mehmed has a 20% skill damage bonus, right? Whatever the case might be, you just have a 20% bonus to skill damage. Okay, you can see that every single turn you're dealing 200, except for the turn where you're dealing skill damage and you're dealing a massive amount of damage, 1,000 times 1.2. okay, so that is 1,200, right? We're using very easy numbers here just to explain the points, but you're also still dealing normal attack damage on that turn, so the total for that turn is 1,400, and we can see over a 10 turn period you would be dealing 3,200 damage. Now let's see how things change when we turn the skill damage modifier to a normal attack damage modifier. Okay, well, suddenly every single turn you're dealing 20% more damage. Again, we're just using the same modifier. Let's say instead of 20% skill damage, you have 20% normal attack damage, okay, which we see on Pyrus's second skill, right? So this isn't like some random abstract idea, like this actually can happen in the game. Every single turn, instead of dealing 200 normal attack damage, now you're going to deal 240, right? Because you have a bonus of 20% to normal attack damage, and that occurs every single turn. But what happens here is if you have a smite damage commander, right, not only is your 10th turn going to deal the smite damage, it's also still going to deal normal attack damage like we said for the skill damage commander, but both of those numbers are going to be modified by the plus 20%, right? The normal attack damage is still going to be modified by 20%, but now your smite damage, instead of being modified by skill damage, is modified by smite damage. Okay, so that's also going to be increased by 20%. So we have the 1000 multiplied by 1.2, which is 1200, we found that before, and the 200, which is multiplied by the 1.2 because it is every single turn. Now we have a 3600 total. Okay, for the same 10 turns we are dealing 400 more damage with smite damage. Now again, I'm using very low, very easy to understand numbers just to paint this picture as an example of how powerful normal attack damage scaling can be. And now that we have an additional scaling for the skill, effectively the skill damage, that's what the smite damage is, it's just going to be even more crazy. Okay, back in the day when Attila and Takeda first came into the game, they were basically unstoppable because the normal attack and counterattack damage on Attila combined with the bonuses from Takeda, it was basically an unstoppable rally. You couldn't swarm it because then it would just gain rage faster because of the burning blood talent here, and you would also take a ton of damage in return because of the normal and counterattack damage, right? So it was just an almost unstoppable rally. They actually had to buff, I believe they buffed Constantine as a response to this. Like they literally made Constantine stronger after the release to make it so that way he's a little bit better. Receive reduced damage from cavalry normal attacks by 10%. They literally added that to Constantine because he was like, Attila Takeda was so broken there was nothing you could do about it. Like there was literally no counter to it. Okay, and the best counter at that time was Constantine with Martel, in case you guys were wondering. A little bit of history lesson there. But the point of me saying this is that we already know that normal attack and counterattack damage, the scaling here, is insanely powerful when you're looking at numbers like plus 30% or more, right? It's actually crazy. So the fact that now we are talking about adding into the game two commanders that have not only their normal attack and counterattack damage boosted, but also their skill damage was replaced with a really big normal attack and counterattack damage skill shot, right? Or smite shot, I guess we should call it now, right? So I think the scaling here is going to be insane, and we only have two commanders with smite damage right now. It could get even crazier down the line, but that might not even be the best part, because if we take a look at a commander like William, right, his active skill says attacked troops extra skill damage from buffs cannot take effect. This is a really good thing about William. Okay, basically whenever you hit a target, if they have bonus X% skill damage, whatever it is, it doesn't take effect for 3 seconds, which is really powerful. But great news, if you have a damage commander, they don't care about bonus to skill damage. They're not dealing damage based off of their skill damage percentage. They're dealing it based on normal attack damage percentage, which is insane. Okay, that's really powerful. So you're just basically circumventing that sort of debuff from William, which is one of the reasons why he's so good. Now the other thing that we have to consider, this I think is set in stone. Like this is obvious, this is not going to take effect on smite damage commanders. Another thing that could possibly occur is looking at the fourth skill on Scipio, right? When troops on the map take skill damage, there's a 50% chance of reducing it. Well, if smite damage doesn't go off of skill damage multipliers, then does it not even count as skill damage at all? That could be the case. Now of course we will have to test this. This isn't as cut and dry as the William. I think the William, obviously that will not affect smite damage commanders, which is super powerful. This we don't know for sure, but there is a chance that that could be the case. Or what about Boudica's third skill? Okay, it says reduces skill damage taken by 25%. Again, is smite damage considered skill damage at all? We're going to have to test this in the game, but it's possible that because smite damage isn't modified by skill damage modifiers, that it's not calculated as skill damage within the formula whatsoever. And if that's the case, then you can hit Boudica with your smite damage and this will not affect it at all. Okay, and again, if that's the case, that's super powerful. We already talked about how the multipliers to normal attack damage are broken but now if they ignore all things like this, it's going to be like steroids. Now the downside to that is if smite damage isn't considered skill damage at all, then you probably will not be able to inflict the odd debuff with Luce's AoE. I mean, it's written right here, when dealing skill damage. So if Luce's active skill is not skill damage at all, then it's probably not going to spread the odd debuff. Okay, so it's not all pros. There are some cons, right? There's obviously a little bit of lack of synergy here with Sargon. That would be unfortunate for sure. I do still think Sargon will be a great pairing for him regardless, but there are just so many implications for what smite damage is going to do to the meta. Now, are we going to see the game completely shift over to smite damage? I don't think so. Now again, I do think that we will probably see more smite damage commanders in the future, but I don't think that every commander that comes out is going to be smite damage. Okay, I would personally not want to see that. I think the entire game has been focused on skill damage for years now, and if we just flip the script and we just completely flip the board over and say, okay, well now it's smite damage, I think a lot of players are going to be unhappy about that. So I think that we're going to see perhaps a balance of, you know, maybe smite damage on some commanders, skill damage on other commanders, and I think that that's cool. I think that that is more interesting. I think that that gives you a choice of what you actually can do moving forward, because historically the best accessories in the game, for example, have been the Ring of Doom, which is going to work on smite damage, which is crazy, and also the Horn of Fury, so you gain more rage. But now we have to consider something like the Greatest Glory. Okay, the Greatest Glory gives you 5% normal attack damage, which on its own isn't that great, but if this also means that you're going to deal 5% more damage with the active skill on Luce and Gorgo, which it will, then this could possibly be a contender, right? For the entirety of this accessory in the game, it's been outclassed by the Vengeance, and for once this might actually make Greatest Glory something that you use. Okay, so I think that having smite damage in the game at the same time alongside skill damage will just give players more options, more variety, more skill, more strategy, more things that you can do, and I think that that's good. Okay, so do I think every commander moving forward is going to be skilled smite damage? No, I don't. Do I want them all to be smite damage? No, I don't. Do I think that smite damage is going to be more powerful than skill damage? I think it could be, for all the reasons that we listed in this video, and I for one am happy that infantry are the first to get it, because as Lilith has acknowledged already in their recent developer feedback over on their Discord, they know that playing infantry is on hard mode. Okay, they know infantry needs something special, and I think smite damage, you know, that's why they're giving smite damage to infantry first, because they desperately need it. And again, I think the evidence that smite damage is super powerful has already been revealed to us, and that is in the form of the unofficial change on the smite damage factor for Gorgo. Okay, so that's everything I wanted to talk about in this video about smite damage. I think a lot of you recognize that this is going to be super powerful, but there are still a handful of players, and to be honest, I think they're probably Cav mains or Archer mains that are a little bit salty that infantry are finally getting something good. Okay, I think that's the truth. Let's just be real. Okay, I think a lot of players are writing this off because they're not infantry mains, but I do think smite damage could be really good, and I would love to hear from you guys in the comments section below. I do want to apologize once again for having the slightly wrong information in yesterday's video. You can roast me about that in the comments section below as well, and while you're down there, drop a thumbs up on the video. It really helps out the channel a ton. It helps get this video out into the YouTube algorithm so other Rise of Kingdoms players might see it. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell to be notified the next time that I upload a Rise of Kingdoms video. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Omniarch. I will talk to you guys again soon. Peace.
とろーりしてなきゃ月見じゃないのケンタのとろーり月見
まあ長いよね。7K ジェムはチースコゲーム for that ね。まああれだね。まあ一応なんだろうね。またさっきまあこれ長いからね。
Gems are the most valuable.
最初の部分聞くだけでほんと長いからね。早いからね。
Gems are the most valuable currency in Rise of Kingdoms because you can basically turn them into anything that you want. You can spin the Wheel of Fortune for commanders, or you can get your hands on blueprints for your equipment, or you can even instantly train more troops if you're a Giga Chad Mega Whale. So today we're gonna go over 6 places that I think you should be spending your gems, as well as 6 places that you should almost definitely avoid, and then we're gonna sprinkle in just a couple of tips right in the middle to get you guys a little bit of extra value. But first, what's going on, guys? Cheers. A fresh cup of Cafe Bustelo. Okay, now the first thing that we have now, as you're transitioning from the mid game to the late game, that's when you're going to be focusing on getting good equipment. Okay, and this is the best way to do that, and the best way to spend your gems for this is the Holy Knight's treasure. Okay, now here's the thing, it's true, to make a good army you okay, now let's talk about some events that you should avoid spending your gems on. And one of the events that I'm gonna say you should probably avoid is Esmeralda's house. Now this event is better now than when it hours of than there is for Esmeralda, so I would recommend. That's so expensive, right? Like that's 36,000 gems. Like it's just not worth it. Okay, it's not worth it. Most of the time you should be avoiding this event. In the same vein as that is this 10 to now one different research speed ups. There's no building, just don't. I never, but maybe getting your hands on like a limited time city skin that maybe you missed in the past or something like that, and even, you know, like this here, really like a blueprint for an epic accessory, not great for mid to late game. It's just not. Okay, so I typically would recommend players avoid this event. Don't really spend too much on it. Not a great event from my experience. Next, let's talk about Dalruk's puzzle box, or is it Dalruk? I don't know. I don't even know who Dalruk is. Is he in the game somewhere? Is he like one of the, you know, Lost Kingdom PvE content boss? I don't know. I don't know who Dalruk is. You can let me know in the comment section below. But this is his puzzle box apparently, and basically you get these little items here, and it'll give you opportunities to open up these different slots, and as you open them up, it fills up this puzzle box over here, I guess, and you know, you get certain rewards for getting this to 100%. Now I will say, if you get lucky and you hit the best prize here, it unlocks all them, and it's really good value, but that's a 1 in 16 chance. Okay, and it's just not good odds. It's just not good odds. I don't think this is a great event. I don't even know anybody who really like loves this event. I know some players do this for like YouTube videos or live streams or whatever, but I pretty much just ignore this event.
まあいいや。
百発百中。
でね、これだからさ、これだけのね、キャラクターがいるわけ。まあ、これだけのキャラクターをやってる。だからね、30キロからやると思うんだよね。ここがすごいのが、ここにいるんだよ、固まりになってんだよ。まあ、ここまですごいのはないっすよ。まあね、それだけいろいろとアカウントやって、なんでこんなにやってるんですか、なんでこんなにやってるんですか、これのためだよ。レジェンダリーチェストのこの、ね、これのため。これのためにやってるわけよ。マイクちょっと上げようか。これのためにやってるね。 見えてる？これ。これね、やるとね、何がいいかってね、まあ、たまーにね、ごくたまーにだけど、レジェンド指揮官が手に入るね。それがすごく良くて、あと、バズと面白い。まあ YSS にね、何かそこまでじゃないのかな今日。まだエクスプローラーがいないんですけどね、8までね、船長8まで上げてエクスプローラーがいないってことありえるでさ、これ新しいの来るんだよね。これ
朕不变更制度，后世无法；不出师征伐，天下不安。
まあいいしょうがないんだよな。見てみ、ここまだ行ってへんで。ちなみにこの小松里香さん、
さあ宴の時間です。
コナンのゴスロリの回を見ればわかりますね。って言っても出ててもそんなんじゃないからね。メインじゃないし、ね、まあイングリッシュのスピードをそんなに上げられるかって言ったら、まあそんなんではないよっていうね。
On the battlefield, I'm always
ま
ready.
だね、だからトルーパーでまだだから、それはね、あれだけどね、オブニアッチさんの動画わーわーわーわー見てて、まあ英語しゃべるであれをね、まあ聞き取れるようになるにはね、まだそれはね、それ相応の努力必要ですけど、まあ一応これね、まだパソコン版の方の来金だからね。これ本当だとあれだよ、もちろんあっちあれもあるでしょ。ああ、どうしようかな。まあ行かなくてもいいと思うんだけどね。俺ね、あっち立ち上げるのがめんどくせえんだよ。まあいいよ、立ち上げるから。ちょっと待って、ちょっとコンファームしちゃう。ブルースタックスね、一応ね、そっちはそっちでまた違う方向でね、あるから。やっぱね、ログインボーナスもらえるっていうのがでかいよね。あれはね。OBS スタジオ。ここ来金ね。こっちの来金ね。こっちのバンコク覚醒ってなってるのはこれパソコン版の方だから。立ち上がるのにね、時間がね、かかるんだと僕は思うんですよ。ああ、最近お流行りのドット勇者ですか。9月の上旬になんかリリースしたらしいですけどね。らしいっすけどって、知ってんのはあれだよね。佐藤二郎が宣伝してるよねぐらいのそれくらいですかね。こっちのね、ブルースタックスはね、本当にね、時間かかってイライラして、みたいな感じですよ。それはブルースタックスだからね。だからパソコン版ができたんですけど。まあ、ログインボーナスもらえるし、それに、まあ、最大2023ジェムもらえる。つって。そんなんですからね。 それに釣られて、まあもらえるっつったってさ、ここだからここでだからあれで入りゃいいんじゃないですか。だからそれでいいと思いますよ。うん。だってもうそれ以外にないもん。別になんかこうさ、まあ見ろね、立ち上がるまでに時間かかるでしょね。The booting up is like starting up is like really taking time. ちなみに PC 版の方のアカウント一つだけバンされてますけど。で、問い合わせたら、結局、バンされてますって帰ってきて、帰ることもね、RIP, bye bye, for next year of September, bye bye. うん。ガバナーの。まあ、いや、あれもう、だから一生だからもう戻らないですよ。残念でした。ね。RIP でございました。まあ別にいいんですけどね。初めてだってさ、成長さ、5までしかで、全然立ち上がんねえんだわ。これ無理だね。これ多分配信中にね、立ち上がるってことしないんすね。これ、すごいですね。全然立ち上がらないという、ブルースタックス、起動できへんねん。つって。Oh my god. Doesn't start up or booting up. It's like, this? Oh my goodness, what are you doing here, man? What are you doing now? It's like, oh my gosh. You cannot just play for like stopping like this. It's like, oh my god. Oh, are you gonna kidding me? Uh-oh. Just like staying for the tune and like, oh wow, I don't know why. I think there is nothing going to be starting or here right now. Because of the OBS studio, right? I don't know. It's like, alright, I was just like, oh. Ooh. You know what? で、OBS スタジオのさ、今さ、キャプチャーっていうのさ、プシってやったんだよ。ピシってやったのよ。変わったんすよ。で、多分これが今バファリングに時間がかかっちゃってるから、もうローディングに時間がかかっちゃうから、ちょっと音だけ楽しんでください。そちらにですね、YouTube の、編集の方はありますので、まあ、そちらを、見ながら、半分見ながら、やっていきましょう。ね。Let's go. Just, loading time is going to be here. It's like, Alright. ローディング時間に時間かかるって。あれを歌っときたいね。とりあえず残しときたいからさ、ダジャレでパプリカのやつだけ起こしとこうかなと思って。ここにね、ダジャレでパプリカがあるのね。で、これ書いといたの。で、TikTok には今あるのね。で、YouTube にはもうないのよ。悲しいね。YouTube にダジャレでパプリカがないの。あれがないんすよ。いや、撮っときゃよかったなと思ってね。少しだけね、後悔してます。私は。下駄が脱げたイカはイカス、アリが10匹ありがとう、馬はうまい、梅はうめえ、おならにさよおなら、バンダナの出番だな、タイヤ若タイヤしてんの、は何してんの、エーゲ海のエーゲ海、フランスには雨フランス、 いよかん食べていいよかんグラサンしてるおグラサンゾウがいたぞいくらはいくらね。で感想のところがね、ジャムおじさんジャムおじさん花と話す厚着しないで厚着しないでですねそれだけ残してきましたあ、多分これもうね、配信してるからこれね、バファリングにあれがかかっちゃうんで、ちょっと一旦全部これオフに。赤グラウドライオンね、ウドカッチで頑張ってね。ちょっと待って、もうそのままオフにしましょうか。じゃあ配信終了しますか。すいません。ブルースタックスの方でですね、起動が全くできないということでですね、ちょっとごめんなさい。ローディング全然できません。ということで、今回は、ノトカッチの、いまだにヒープリのね、2020年から、抜け出せないでいる2023年です。もうすでに。ヒロプリだよ、もう。じゃあ、終わっていきましょうか。マイクオフにしますよ。